Hi everyone, this is Marc Bates. I'm a metabolic health coach, and today's topic is how a Marine veteran conquered decades of pain through carnivore diet. Now, one note here: this is I'm going to give some information about somebody's personal journey. This is not somebody I know personally. This came from Ferrigno Freedom, who is a YouTube influencer who I follow. He's very good, so I will post his link at the top of the description so that you can view the full interview if you'd like. Thank you very much. All right, here we go. Okay, so a Marine veteran conquered decades of pain through carnivore diet. The pain had become Nick Bonadiz's constant companion for nearly 30 years following his Marine Corps service. And thank you for your service, Nick. Daily pain medications were simply part of his life. His knees filled with fluid, requiring regular draining procedures. Injured during service, his back would go out with the slightest movement. His shoulder, once broken in 9 places, never truly healed. Doctors had only one solution: more medications, more cortisone shots, more procedures. Then came an unlikely intervention that changed everything. The breaking point. Something clicked when Nick's doctor suggested adding another blood pressure medication to his growing list of prescriptions. He was done with the pharmaceutical merry-go-round that many veterans find themselves trapped on, where doctors prescribe multiple medications that only mask symptoms without addressing root causes. And this happens to a lot of people. I remember sitting there smiling and saying, "Okay, put me on the medication," Nick recalls. I thought to myself, I'm not going to touch this. I'm done. At 300 pounds with prediabetes, chronic inflammation, and constant pain, Nick made a decision that would transform his life. He would try the carnivore diet. The carnivore approach to inflammation. Now, everything Nick was talking about, that he was having problems with, for the most part, can be traced directly to inflammatory disease, right? The carnivore diet works through a simple but powerful mechanism. It eliminates inflammatory triggers by removing plant-based foods that contain potential irritants and anti-nutrients. The diet reduces common inflammation triggers that affect many people without their knowledge. You're eating vegetables thinking they're healthy, and you don't realize that they're actually hurting you. Okay? For Nick, the results were nothing short of remarkable. I was standing there grilling probably about a month after I started, and I thought, oh my goodness, I have no pain in my knees. It was gone. It was 100% gone. After decades of daily pain medication, Nick hasn't touched them in over 6 months. His inflammation markers have normalized, his prediabetes has resolved, and he's lost 115 pounds. This is not an uncommon thing that happens when somebody switches to carnivore. Beyond physical pain, mental clarity returns. Perhaps most surprising was the improvement in Nick's cognitive function. Before starting the carnivore diet, he had been experiencing what he describes as dementia-like symptoms: forgetting words, struggling with recall, and experiencing mental fog. And once again, I have a lot of people who I work with who have this exact same problem. That scared me, Nick admits. My Alzheimer's and dementia runs in the family, right? Alzheimer's is something that I worry about a great deal because my mother and my father both died from Alzheimer's. Okay, so it's one of the reasons I eat a carnivore diet. These symptoms disappeared completely within 3 to 4 months on the carnivore diet, and yes, I will agree with him. Very quickly, your mental clarity comes right back. This cognitive improvement mirrors what researchers are beginning to understand about the relationship between inflammation, insulin resistance, and brain health. And look at some of the other videos I've already produced about how keto and carnivore help clear up a lot of mental issues. Okay? Some researchers now refer to Alzheimer's as type 3 diabetes, suggesting a connection between metabolic dysfunction and cognitive decline. And part of this was because the old dogma that they had for 20 years, which is that plaques in the brain cause Alzheimer's has now been disproven. So they went back to Alzheimer's is actually a brain energy problem caused by inflammation and eating the wrong kinds of foods. Okay? This concept proposes that insulin resistance in the brain, which can be influenced by diet, may contribute to the development of Alzheimer's disease, a connection that dietary interventions like the carnivore diet might help address. And it is proven for years to be very effective. Okay? The lion diet, taking carnivore further. Nick eventually refined his approach to what's known as the lion diet, a more restrictive version that includes only ruminant meat, beef and lamb, salt, and water. Okay, real quick. The two people who I know who are very popular on the lion diet groups are, of course, Ferrigno, right? Dante Ferrigno. He's a big proponent of the lion diet, and the other one is Michaela Peterson, Jordan Peterson's daughter, who recovered from years of health problems by eating a lion diet. And of course, Jordan Peterson basically eats nothing but beef, lamb, and water. So they're big proponents of the lion diet as well. I eat a little bit less restrictive version of carnivore, and once again, there are variations on variations. So we can discuss that if you need help with that. The lion diet is a more extreme version of the carnivore diet, right? Focusing on specific types of meat and eliminating all other food groups. For Nick, this further refinement brought even greater benefits. And one of the things about carnivore is the reason it seems to help so many people is you get rid of things that have you may not even realize have been causing problems. And you get down to the bottom line. If you ate nothing but ruminant meat, which is completely non-inflammatory, completely healthy, fully nutrient-based, very dense, you would certainly heal from a lot. I've known no one who has any problems physically with red meat, right? With beef and lamb. It's what for millions of years the human species has been eating. Now, for some people, that's a little too restrictive, which is why there are variations on variations. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to eat nothing but beef. But I'm telling you, once you eat beef as your primary nutrient source, and you feel the effects, and your brain clears up, and your pains start going away, it's hard to go back to anything else. Because if you eat something and you don't feel good, and you can remember that, it's like, well, why am I eating it, right? So just keep that in mind. So this is Nick again. When I eliminated chicken and pork and switched to the lion diet, I noticed my inflammation reduced even further. And once again, the reason that happens is chicken and pork, of course, are animal products. They do work on a carnivore diet. The problem is, compared to beef and lamb, which are ruminant animals, right? And they go through that fermentation in their rumen that helps produce the fatty acids and the protein that they build their bodies from. Chickens and pork are monogastric, which means they have one stomach. They don't actually ferment the food. So they pretty much, whatever they're eating, they absorb. And if you're eating commercial chicken and commercial pork, you're getting a lot of grain-fed products in there. Even a chicken supposedly vegan fed. What does that mean? That means they're getting a lot of soy, cracked soy meal in the feed that they're giving them. Yeah, it's vegan. I mean, it's a plant, but it's not what chickens are supposed to eat. Chickens are supposed to eat bugs and other little things and forage, right? But even then, because they are monogastric, right, they have a much higher omega-6 fatty composition in their meat, and it shows up in everything. You need a little bit of omega-6, but you don't need a lot, and the amount you need is found easily in beef and lamb, right? So I don't really eat a lot of chicken, just a little bit every once in a while. I definitely don't eat pork for many reasons, because of the fat ratios in there. And omega-6 fats are linked to many different types of inflammation. Okay? So, Nick, once again, this experience matches what many practitioners have observed. Different animal proteins may have varying effects on inflammatory responses in specific individuals. I have one person I work with who just can't eat beef. It's not a physical problem. It's a personal issue that beef and lamb are just something she won't eat. So she eats primarily fish, which can be healthy, but you gotta be careful with fish because of all the contaminants in the water that actually make it into the fish eventually. Okay, and occasionally she'll eat some chicken, right? She's doing great. She's very healthy, but the problem is she's got to watch out for certain things. She doesn't get enough heme iron because she's not eating beef. So we track those things, right? See, so you can make a lot of variations on here, and Nick's a great example of how you can go to the extreme. Just make sure if you're going to the extreme because you want to get super healthy, super quick, go to ruminant beef if at all possible. Okay, all right. Once again, you know the drill, folks. Please, it helps the channel a great deal. Like, subscribe, hit the bell if you want to get notified. I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay, from individual success to family transformation. Now, this is great. So, initially skeptical, and this happens to everybody. Nick's family watched his transformation with growing interest. As his pain disappeared and his weight dropped, they began asking questions. It wasn't long before all of a sudden my little sister and my mom and my girlfriend and other people were like, hey, okay, what are you doing? And his mother, sister, and girlfriend have all adopted the carnivore approach with similar results. His mother's knee inflammation and chronic watery eyes improved. His sister's Achilles tendon problems were resolved. And perhaps most surprisingly, all three discovered their seasonal allergies had disappeared. His girlfriend's transformation was theoretical. Her theoretical A1C dropped from 11.6, indicating the severe diabetes, to 5.3, non-diabetic range. Theoretical is because they weren't actually doing the A1C test; they were just basing that on glucose blood readings. Okay, sorry about that. In a matter of months, this collective improvement in health within his family is a testament to the potential of the carnivore diet, right? His girlfriend's transformation happened very quickly. Okay, it's going to matter months, and so you'll see this with a lot of people. The science behind this success. While Nick's story is anecdotal, we don't have a case study with hundreds and hundreds of different people on it, right? And you'll see a lot of carnivore diet and even ketogenic diet ones. So there are more case studies on the ketogenic diet. There's a lot of N=1 type stories here. It aligns with a lot of the research that's coming out. Once again, in 2021, there was a Harvard study on the carnivore diet, and 56% of the 2,000 plus participants cited autoimmune disorders as their reason for trying the diet. After at least 6 months, an impressive 89% of these people reported improving or resolving their autoimmune disorders. A 2020 survey found that 65% of individuals with autoimmune conditions experienced reduced inflammation and pain within 3 months of starting a carnivore diet. Okay? Now remember, these are surveys. These are not causal scientific studies, so these are not what I would call scientifically valid to say this is a causation. These are just correlations that we can point to, but we have thousands and thousands and thousands of individuals who report after going on carnivore or even a less restrictive form of carnivore called ketogenic diet. They have tremendous health benefits. You have to consider that as being valid enough that maybe it's worth the try for you, right? Okay, so why does this work? Well, the mechanism appears to involve several factors. First, Plant compounds that may trigger immune responses in sensitive individuals must be eliminated. This does not mean you're allergic to the plant compounds. You're not going to go to the doctor, to the immunologist, and get a test and say, "Oh, you're allergic to phytins. You're immune to the lectins in beans and stuff." They don't test for that stuff. Okay? They test for protein reactions against other things. But understand that we know that lectins cause problems. We know that all these things in plants that were designed to deter them from being eaten long term cause problems in humans. It doesn't kill you like it does an insect, but it certainly will affect human body, and you may not even notice. In fact, there's a thing going around that most people don't realize how bad they're reacting to the plants because they're so used to being sick from it that it's part of their normal everyday life. Okay? So, first thing is you eliminate plants, which eliminates a lot of these supposedly healthy things that cause you problems. Second, dietary carbohydrates must be reduced because insulin is the driver for almost all of this inflammation and definitely for all of the fat that you gain, the metabolic diseases. It's all driven by insulin, okay? And third, ketone bodies, which are produced from the fat that you're eating by your liver. They are absolutely fantastic as a source of energy and for their anti-inflammatory effects. Where you have two basic fuels: glucose and ketones. Right? If you're burning glucose because you're eating carbs, well, you get energy from that, but you also get a lot of reduced oxygen species, ROSs, which are a form of inflammation that comes from actually converting the glucose into ATP, which is the energy source, right? And there's all kinds of issues as your body's doing that, where ketones get converted to ATP with virtually none of the inflammation that you get from glucose, right? Ketones themselves are very anti-inflammatory, and they help promote good functioning within your cells. So, clean fuel or dirty fuel, your choice. Okay, beyond physical health, reclaiming control. Now this is a big one. For Nick, perhaps the most profound change has been psychological. After years of yo-yo dieting and feeling controlled by food cravings, he now experiences a freedom he never thought possible. I have zero issues with it at all, he says, about passing up foods he once couldn't resist. I don't even crave one thing I liked in the past. This newfound control extends beyond food. Nick describes feeling mentally sharper, more spiritually connected, and having a consistently positive outlook on life. I feel better now at 52 than I did when I was 25, he says. Okay, real quick, one thing that happens on this one. 90+%, almost close to 100% of the serotonin produced in your body that goes through the brain, makes you feel good, is produced in your gut. And your gut produces a lot more serotonin and does it much easier on a carnivore ketone or a carnivore type of a diet than it does eating carbohydrates, which help really wreck your gut and reduce the amount of serotonin produced. Part of why everyone's feeling better on carnivore is that they're getting more serotonin, and the brain loves that. Okay, so there is a lot of science behind this. You just have to kind of figure out why that science is working. Okay, challenging medical orthodoxy. And I face this all the time with the doctors I work with, personally, and who come to me with why their clients are doing things. Nick's experience raises important questions about conventional nutritional advice. When he told his doctor about his carnivore diet, the response was predictable and disapproval. Yeah, and I get that too. I tell people about the carnivore diet if I go see a doctor for something, and my doctor, and I don't see my doctor that often, so she's always like, "You still on that meat diet?" Yes, I'm still on that meat diet, and I'm doing great. With all due respect, Nick told his doctor, I feel better than I've ever felt. Okay? The disconnect between official dietary guidelines and individual results highlights the need for more personalized approaches to nutrition and health. And when we talk about that, what I'm talking about is that you are the CEO of your own health. Okay? Your doctor is not the the person that you that needs to tell you how to live your life. He can advise you. He's a great advisor. I love doctors. Doctors are great people, but their training is not in how to make you heal. Their training is how to cover up symptoms with medication. Okay, that's just the way they're trained, and you can't go. And that's also the way they're paid and the way they're marked and where they get their scores and everything else. That because remember, almost all doctors are now employees. Okay, so you need to consider that their training does not tell them changing what you eat is better than not taking medication, because they're trained to take medication. Okay. So when you consider talking with your doctor, just remember you're in control of your health, not your doctor. Your doctor's your advisor, a very important advisor. But if you are switching over to a carnivore type diet and you're feeling better, don't let the doctor tell you that there's something wrong with you. Okay? Nick's experience here underscores the importance of listening to our bodies and finding out what works best for us, even if it challenges the conventional norms. Okay? So, a path worth considering. Nick's advice for those considering the carnivore diet is straightforward. Try it for 30 days. He acknowledges that the adaptation period can be challenging. For him, it involved flu-like symptoms and discomfort for about 2 weeks. Okay, and yes, I will admit that. What I normally tell people, if you don't want to go through this adaptation period, right, or any of this keto flu that everyone talks about, give yourself 4 weeks to transition from eating a carbohydrate-rich diet to a meat-based diet. Your body has to get used to that, or you're going to feel some effects, and some of those effects are called the keto flu. You'll feel down. You'll feel a little bit under the weather. It's not going to kill you, but if you want to eliminate that issue, give yourself some time to convert over. Okay? But try for 30 days. It's important to note that the carnivore diet may not suit everyone, and I'll agree with that. And consulting a healthcare professional before making significant dietary changes is advised. As always, I'm not a doctor. Do talk to your doctor about this, okay? Especially if you have health concerns that may be affected directly by the type of food you're eating, okay? But the results, on the other hand, may be very worthwhile. It was the best thing I ever did, Nick reflects. I highly recommend that you give it a shot and try it. For veterans and others trapped in cycles of chronic pain, inflammation, and medication dependence, Nick's journey offers something precious. Hope that there might be another way. A way that doesn't involve more pills or procedures, but instead addresses the root causes of inflammation through one of the most fundamental aspects of human health, what we eat. Nick's transformation from a pain-riddled, medication-dependent veteran to a vibrant, healthy 52-year-old stands as a powerful testimony to the potential of nutritional intervention. His story challenges us to reconsider conventional wisdom about diet, inflammation, and healing. For those suffering, as Nick once did, his message is simple. You may not have to live with pain forever. Sometimes the solution is more straightforward than we've been led to believe. Okay? And as Nick would say, try it for 30 days. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, if you have any questions or comments, put them in the appropriate section there and let me know. And if you have any ideas for topics you'd like me to cover, please leave them. It's where I get most of the ideas for future stuff I'm working on. Thank you so much. Have a great day.